And welcome back to another episode of Creating Madness Live. I'm here with the usual co-host, or should I say semi-usual, and John Krevling.
All right,
man. As you guys also see, we have a special guest, T3 at T Bracketology. As of, an hour ago, the best bracketologist on Twitter on the entire platform. How are you today, Tommy?
I'm doing great, man. Happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Thank you for coming on such short notice. So we have a fun bracket we were talking about before we started the show. Me and John aren't happy with the draws for our teams, but overall, I see a few teams that I like making the Final Four that I might not have had.
Yeah, so let's get into it. You want to go start in the West? Does that seem appropriate?
All right, let's do it.
Let's start in the West. Gonzaga, Georgia State. Georgia State miraculously won the Sun Belt, blah, blah, blah. Georgia State will be lucky to come within 30. As the spread, I believe, is 23.5.
Yeah.
But Boise State, Memphis. I'll let you guys talk about this one to start it off.
I think, to be honest with you guys, this might be my most intriguing 8-9 matchup because this is one Boise State team who kind of feels like an underrated mid-major in their conference, and a team who's looking to prove a lot. But then you got Memphis. Everyone, including Ethan, likes to hate on Memphis. Penny Hardaway's a bad coach. His team's unorganized. They play very sloppy. But they've managed to get some good wins this season. 2 wins against Houston. I know they just lost today, but 2 wins against Houston. And I honestly think that when they're playing a good game, I think they have the potential to beat a lot of teams in the country. When they play poorly, they can lose to almost anyone. So this is a really intriguing matchup for me because it's based on, for me, how well Memphis plays and Boise State's just at their whims. But what about you, T3?
Yeah, I agree with that. I think this is probably, when I'm looking at the bracket, the toughest 8-9 matchup to pick. I feel like I have a good opinion on the rest of them, but there's a lot of things, like you said, I like about Memphis. I feel like athletically they can match up with any single team, and even Gonzaga in the second round, if they make it there, they can match up with anybody. But Boise State, for me, is one of those teams that I feel like was underseeded. I thought they deserved to be better than an 8 after winning the Mountain West yesterday. It didn't seem like the committee seemed to value this weekend too much in the seeding, but I could see them using that as a chip on their shoulder. And probably I would imagine that more than 50% of people pick Memphis. So that whiteboard material for Leon Rice to use in the locker room, and then he's a former Gonzaga assistant. So there's a little storyline there that March Madness always seems to hit those storylines. So my gut would say Boise State, but that's the toughest 8-9 matchup for me to pick.
Yeah, totally. That's true.
I feel like I'd also lean Boise State there as we move into the team that has potentially the most upset power in the entire bracket in UConn going up against the WAC winners, New Mexico State.
I mean, I've been a very big advocate of UConn's backcourt the whole year. I think that RJ Cole is one of the best point guards in the country. I think that he's going to be a great leader in March, but when you consider the fact that New Mexico State always has a good team in March, I can't pull up any stats right now. I know they won the WAC yesterday, but I just remember all the times when I was a little kid under this coaching staff that this team has consistently been in the game or won games in the 12th spot or 13th spot against really high-level teams. I like New Mexico State maybe to win here. I haven't looked. I'm not informed of the stats yet. I mean, the show was, an hour ago? But this New Mexico State team is really good. So despite how much I like UConn, I think New Mexico State's a really, really good team here.
Yeah, I got to agree with that. UConn's they were one of my sleeper Final Four teams about a month ago. So I do like them. It's going to be hard for me not to pick them here, but there's a lot to like about New Mexico State too. That's a tough draw for Connecticut. Really, all the 5-12s are tough. I mean, New Mexico State, I think they have probably one of the 10 best in-conference winning percentages over the last decade, something like 80% win percentage or higher in their conference. So they've, like you said, they've been dominant. Last year was a weird year where they didn't get in. So those kind of teams sometimes are due for something special beyond just one win, so that could happen. But I love RJ Cole and UConn, so I'd probably pick them here.
All right. Arkansas, Vermont. I'd also take UConn, but Arkansas, Vermont. Arkansas favored by just 5 points in this matchup. A 4-13 matchup. Only a 5-point spread. Arkansas.
You got it.
Arkansas has a tough matchup here. They drew a very tough draw.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
you got it, Tommy.
I mean, Vermont, I think they played 18 conference games. I think they won 16 of them by double digits, if I remember correctly. And then I think they won every single conference tournament game by double digits. Obviously, the America East is not great. If it wasn't Vermont, we're probably looking at a 16 seed, but Vermont's been dominant. This one's really funny to me because I had tweeted out a few days ago that if you see Vermont on the 13 line, you don't love the 4 seed, put them in your Sweet 16, and then commented after that watch it be Arkansas now because that's a 4 seed that I love, and here we are.
That's a tweet.
Here we are, Arkansas, Vermont. So I pretty much was going to lock Vermont into my Sweet 16 unless it was Arkansas. And so I'll stick with it for now. I think Arkansas is – Eric Musselman knows how to win tournament games, so I'd probably pick them. But, man, five feels right. The spread of 5 feels good.
Oh, yeah, that's actually exactly what I was about to say. I mean, Ryan Davis in Vermont, they're consistently – or not just Ryan Davis in Vermont, but Vermont program as a whole, they're consistently one of the best majors in the country. They haven't really found a way to win a tournament game yet, but they're always super close. I remember that match against Florida State a few years ago where they almost took down an Elite Eight team. This is a really good program, and they have one of the best players in the country, but they probably got the worst seeding possible with this Arkansas team, who's won 13 out of the last 17, I think. 13-4 in their last 17.
Yeah.
So, yeah, around that. So, this is a super hot team. And, again, Eric Musselman, one of the best coaches in the country. They have a really, really good team with a bunch of scorers and high-level players. Really unfortunate seeding for Vermont. I probably have to go chalk here again and go Arkansas, which feels pretty lame. But, this just sucks for Vermont. I really feel bad for them. If they can manage to win, though, that's a free Sweet 16 in my opinion, if they can get that win. But I don't think they will. But moving on to the next game, I guess.
All right, Alabama versus Rutgers or Notre Dame. First, Rutgers, Notre Dame. What do you guys think for that matchup?
Rutgers for me.
Yeah, same. All right.
I was gonna say this is a tough one because I'm not a big believer in Rutgers. I know they have had a lot of big wins recently, and they've really turned up. But I think I might have to go Rutgers, just despite the fact that I just don't think Notre Dame should even be in the tournament. But I would just classify this whole grouping as a whole as just a complete shit fest. Like, you got Alabama, who just they've beat Baylor and they've also lost to Georgia. Like, this team just doesn't know how to play consistent basketball. But then you also have Rutgers, who's turned on at the end of the season, but they still have some bad losses. And then I don't think Notre Dame will win. But if they do, then you never know. So this is my most unpredictable part of the West, I think, in my opinion, even more than the Memphis-Boise State. But I don't know. I honestly might go Bama, Rutgers, Notre Dame if they shows me some stats. But I don't know. This is awful.
Yeah, the one thing, though, for those play-in teams is I don't know if it's every single year, but it's close. Almost every single year, at least one of the winners of a play-in at least advances to the round of 32. Obviously, last year, UCLA was all the way to the Final Four. I don't know if that happens with any of these 4 teams. I think UCLA was probably underseeded with their playing game last year. They were better than that. I think these teams are at least in that range, but I'm definitely going to I'll probably put the winner of Wyoming, Indiana into the second round, but Alabama is so inconsistent, like you said, it could definitely be them too.
I did a coin flip earlier. It landed on tails, so I'm making Rutgers go to the next round.
There you go.
Texas Tech and Montana State.
Montana State won their conference. That's cool. Texas Tech is Texas Tech. I got them here. Best 3 seed in the line. I think they're the best 3 seed in my opinion. Maybe Tennessee, but Tech is
between them and Tennessee. Yeah,
exactly. But they're really powerful 3 seed. Sorry, Montana State. Season was fun, but
good season.
You'll be heading back to Helena to recap your season. So, yeah. Any other thoughts?
No, this is a bad matchup for Montana State for me. I think Texas Tech can even have a cold shooting day, and they're probably fine. That defense is way too good. It's, again, Montana State, heck of a season. It's awesome. I think it's pretty awesome that they won the Big Sky Conference tournament and got here, and I think it's just house money for them at this point. So Texas Tech's got dreams of a Final Four possibly, so I think this is just that first step for them.
All right. Moving into the next matchup, we got the overrated kid from Illinois, Max Christie, in Michigan State, heading over against NC Davidson.
This matchup is confusing because I'm not the biggest Davidson advocate. I think that they probably were maybe even overseeded here. I think they should still be a tournament team, but I'm not the biggest advocate for them. But then you got Michigan State, who has just been a disaster for the past month. I think they're significantly below 500 in their last 10 games or so. And really, when you're looking at this matchup, is who's not going to play the worst as opposed to who's going to play the best. And probably just due to my bias, without looking at the stats, I'm going to go State here because Tom Izzo is admittedly a very good tournament coach, but not last year. I mean, they lost to UCLA in the play-in game last year, so I really don't know, to be honest with you. I think Tommy can fill in with some better insight here.
I'll probably go opposite here, and I'll say Davidson. I like the shooters. I think Michigan State's a solid team, but Tyson Walker yesterday, solid point guard. He tweaked his ankle, didn't return against Purdue. Not sure on his status for this week, so that's something to keep in mind. If he's out, I'm definitely going to pick Davidson. If he's playing, he's been the X factor. He's hit big shots for them, so that's one to look out for. Where I'm almost locking Davidson in the next round if he's not playing, because there's not a lot of guard depth, and Davidson can shoot it. Where Michigan State's like when they're playing, they're shooting the threes well, but when guys like Christie, Joey Hauser, those guys are not making shots, they're not going to score a ton. I think Davidson could outscore him.
And then the 2-15 seed matchup, where seemingly every single person I've seen on Twitter that's not a Duke fan is praying for CSU Fullerton to knock off the Blue Devils. I feel like it's fair to say Duke moves on. This is the most least likely 2-15 upset.
If we end up coming back to Duke, all I want to say is that based off pure bias, I went to one of their games in 2015. They won the Natty. I went to a game this year with my friend. I'm not saying they're going to win it.
Coincidence.
But hey, Coach K's final year, it's all matching up. I'm not saying they're going to win it, but let's just say I have some money on them, to say the least. Moving on.
They'll get through that one, though, at least.
What's up?
They'll get through Fullerton at least, though, for sure, for round one.
Yeah, I think.
And probably the second one. I think Sweet 16 at least.
Yeah,
good matchup for them.
Shotgun. But Ethan, you want to head over to the East?
Baylor Norfolk State. I feel like that's a fair move on to the 8-9 game, unless one of us is predicting a major 16-1 upset.
I'm good.
And
that's my most likely 16, though. I'd say. I'm not picking any 16 seeds, but if I had to pick one, I'm going Norfolk State if I have to. But we can go to the 8-9s.
All right, you heard it here, guys. The best bracketologist in the country, in the world, says Norfolk State will beat Baylor.
I said they were the best 16, but
you just got to upload it to Twitter. I mean, you're gonna go viral here.
If it works out, though, then that's what I said. So exactly. There you go.
Yep. North Carolina, Marquette.
Marquette for me. Toss up.
Actually, Marquette too for me, actually.
Well, the first time I'm picking against you guys. Great. I'll take Baycott.
Here's my thing with Marquette.
He's good.
Baycott is good. Or Baycott's good. Here's my thing with Marquette. Shaka Smart was a great tournament coach at VCU. Obviously went to the Final Four. How much that was a fluke, I don't know, but he got it done there. As for his time at the University of Texas, this may be pure bias because we didn't make it past the first round with Shaka. And I get it, he has a better team this year than most years he's had at Texas, but it just doesn't seem like he can get it done in the tournament anymore in a major school setting. I've got North Carolina because I feel like when RJ Davis and Caleb Love and Armando Baycott and all of them are playing very well, they're hard to beat in general, let alone hard to beat Marquette. So I've got North Carolina here, actually, not Marquette. I just switched my opinion around. I've got North Carolina.
I'm a big Justin Lewis guy. I feel like I look at the two teams as I've watched them this year, and Marquette's both of them have had inconsistencies, but Big East is better in the ACC, and North Carolina did not look great against Virginia Tech. Granted, Marquette didn't have a great end of the Big East tournament either, but this one's, to me, it's pick your poison and then move Baylor to the Sweet 16 for me.
Yeah, that's pretty accurate.
Although I will say, I have no Big East team making it past the Sweet 16 this year.
That's tough. You have Villanova losing in the round of 32?
No, Sweet 16.
Past the Sweet 16.
Got it.
Yeah, okay.
St. Mary's versus Wyoming or Indiana. I want Wyoming to win that for numerous reasons. So, assuming it's St. Mary's, Wyoming, because I don't think Graham Ike's going to let Wyoming lose, especially after the season Wyoming's had. Wyoming, St. Mary's, unless you guys both are on the Indiana hype train.
I think that in my limited research, because I actually started researching this game, my very limited research, I think Wyoming has a better chance of winning this game. And again, me and Ethan talked about this on the show basically the whole year. Is Trace Jackson Davis going to have a good game, except for the one time they played Illinois? If so, better chance they win. If not, they lose. So I think that if they can guard him decently, then they win. As for when they play St. Mary's, I think St. Mary's is one of the most overrated teams in college basketball. I know it might sound a little bit biased. They're playing in the WCC. They're a good team, but they're not a 5 seed level team based on what I've seen. They beat Gonzaga once, which is cool, but give me some big wins outside of that. I've got Wyoming here with my limited research. St. Mary's had a good run, but I think that Wyoming wins. This is based on limited research, but I think that Wyoming can confidently win.
I think the play-in matchup's interesting. I agree that I'm going to have whoever wins the play-in game, I'm going to have them beating St. Mary's and moving on to play against UCLA. But Indiana and Wyoming are pretty similar. Wyoming's a little bit more consistent when it comes to outside shooting, but both have a couple of shooters, but they're inside out first.
Mhm.
You have Hunter Maldonado and Xavier Johnson are the point guards for both. Neither of them are great shooters. Both like to drive to the basket, kick out to shooters, and obviously Graham Ike versus Trace Jackson Davis is going to be the headliner matchup. It's probably probably the most interesting of the first four matchups. And my gut would say Wyoming, like you said, and then they beat St. Mary's and then play against UCLA in the round of 32. But it'll be a good game, I think, within 5 points.
All right, I have St. Mary's, but that's more of just a random gut feeling because this is March Madness, and if we went by all analytics, then this would not be fun.
That's true. That's true.
And no one would be watching this. It was only one seeds in the Final Four. But I feel like you said UCLA, Akron. John's not going to pick Akron, and John Gross isn't playing Illinois, so they're not going to win. So UCLA moves on, and then we get to Texas and Virginia Tech.
I'm picking the Horns out of sole bias. I can't see a world within my biased view that Virginia Tech wins. I would like to give some other opinions, but I can't here. Please take it away, T3.
My gut's going to be Virginia Tech, but I can totally see the Texas pick. Texas's defense is elite. It's just for me, there are some teams that run out of that magic dust, that gas when they win a conference tournament that maybe it was a little fluky, maybe they got out of the way that they were playing, and there's other teams that use that, like a first one that comes to mind is like a Kemba Walker UConn. That's not this Virginia Tech team, but there are teams like that, and Virginia Tech just dismantled Duke. I mean, and North Carolina. And they're just, it's not like, I don't feel like this is a fluke for me. I feel like the run at least gets them one more game, maybe even two, but
well,
I'm picking Virginia Tech probably to beat Texas. But that's, again, there's so many of these, which is awesome. So many of these are just going to be great games.
Yeah, that's for sure.
I'm going to have a lot of fun staying home from school Thursday.
There you go.
And Texas, Virginia Tech. I'll sadly have to go with Texas. I know John loves when I choose Texas because I don't think I've chosen Texas once on the show. Just because of the defense, I do feel like Virginia Tech's little magic dust, as you said, I think it'll run out. I don't want to call them like last year's Georgetown because that's definitely not.
Yeah, that would be disrespectful. That'd
be very disrespectful. But I just don't think that their luck's there. As we move into Purdue, Yale.
Purdue.
Next. Sorry, Ben.
Thank God. All right. Murray State, San Francisco.
This might be my favorite matchup in all of the tournament. Might be.
Really?
I
have Murray State moving on with ease, personally. I'd like to
favorite in sense more the storyline, not necessarily the matchup.
Yeah.
I think Murray State will win. That's true. I think that San Francisco is not as good of a team as, they should be or made out to be, but in terms of, you got two mid-major at-large teams going at it. One team from the OVC, we've seen them produce winners over the years, and another team in San Francisco coming out of the WCC. They had a really good year in their conference, by the way. Hats off to that conference. But I think that in terms of the storyline, you got great backcourts going in to both these teams. Obviously, both mid-majors from smaller conferences, and they're both at-large teams. So I personally am Murray State, but this game is gonna be the most fun, build-up for me personally. But yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that in the sense of it's really fun when two mid-majors go at it in these 7-10, 8-9, 6-11 matchups where one's moving on. But I like Murray State too. I feel like at some point when a team only has 2 losses, a 30-plus game sample size, that's enough to say they don't know how to lose. They're not. It's going to be pretty shocking but I don't know the exact final record. I know their Division I record was 21-2, but they have a couple D2 wins in there. But something like 30-2, 31-2, something just ridiculous where that gets them past San Francisco, and then it sets up a fun Murray State Kentucky one, which could be interesting. Probably Kentucky, but could be interesting.
Never rule out the Peacocks of St. Peter's. Never rule them out. It could shock the world. No, I'm just kidding. But
they had a good season though. That wasn't actually very surprising to me. I mean, I still would have picked Iona to win the MAAC, but
really,
St. Peter's was not surprising for me to see them get through.
Interesting.
One bit.
I thought Iona was a lock, personally, but then hey, it works out that you say that. They ended up winning their conference tournament, so
there you go.
I mean, I think Kentucky's gonna win with ease, but hats off to St. Peter's. In all seriousness, they had a good season. Are we moving on to the South or
Yep.
West?
Arizona versus Wright State or Bryant. Just want to give a quick shout out. I feel like this will be the most entertaining first 4 game.
Peter
Yeah.
Kiss.
Peter Kiss, exactly. That's all I need to say. I was going to say real quickly, I think T3 was talking something about, what was it? CSU Fullerton having the best chance. Georgia State having the best chance of beating Gonzaga for the 116.
Norfolk State was my
Norfolk State. Sorry,
yeah.
Norfolk State. You started saying about Norfolk State beating. I think the winner of this game. It's not going to happen in my opinion. Like, there's no way. But I think the winner of this game, personally, has the best chance of beating a 1 seed because I think both these teams are hot at the right time. Especially Bryant, they have all the momentum going in with their star player. If I was going to have to put money on a team beating a 1 seed, it would be this game. That's just my 2 cents on that.
I think like a Bryant's probably the best case because of a guy like Peter Kiss who's at the tops of the country in points per game. Mine is more of just the matchup of Norfolk State versus Baylor if I had to pick one. I think Arizona is just too dominant, where Baylor is obviously just as dominant, can probably get just as far. I just think the way that Arizona can get up and down the floor, I just don't. And they lock in on defense. Maybe not as much as Baylor, but their offense is a lot better. That's where I think none of them are going to happen. We're just
speculating.
Speculating, right. But that's the way I see it. Norfolk State, at least.
That's a valid opinion. It's right on the show for a reason.
Yep. Seton Hall, TCU.
Is Mike Miles playing?
That's the question. I don't know that answer.
The question, right now. And if he is, I might have to go TCU, honestly, because Mike Miles is one of the best players in the country, in my opinion. Very underrated player in the Big 12. If he's playing, probably give me the Horned Frogs. If he's not, Seton Hall is a good enough team to just scrape past them because I really feel like that's of Jared Rowan and the occasional Bryce Aiken, this team struggles, to say the very least. But yeah, it just all depends on whether Mike Miles is playing for me. T3, you got anything else?
That is the same for me. TCU's playing better basketball down the stretch than Seton Hall. So if he's playing, I'm going TCU. If not, like you said, Seton Hall is good enough to exploit that, and they should get to the next round.
Yep. And then we move to Houston at the 5 and UAB at the 12.
Blazers.
UAB.
This is my favorite 5-12 because I like UAB.
Jordan Jelly Walker. UAB's doing it.
Jordan Jelly Walker, Jelly fan.
He's doing it, I think. I could see even UAB in the Sweet 16. I don't know about it. Illinois, Kofi Coburn's a tough matchup if they get through Chattanooga, but UAB's good. I like UAB.
I'm going to have to look into UAB more because I was aware of Jordan Walker, Big Jelly. But this USA representative, I don't know enough about them, to be honest with you. I'm going to have to look into them more. They're not my radar as a team that could have an upset potential. When I saw this matchup, I got really excited because Houston, without Marcus Sasser, I feel like is just so ready for an upset. I mean, the fact they made it to a 5 seed without him in the first place was a miracle. I mean, this team really rebounded well after that injury. But, yeah, I'm going to have to look into UAB because it sounds like they're a really popular upset pick for a reason. So maybe the Blazers, but who knows? Shout out Houston, the city.
Yep. Then we move into Illinois, Chattanooga, and I just want to say anything I've ever said nice about Chattanooga, it was all a lie. They're the most overrated mid-major.
No, but in all seriousness, I think I can speak for Ethan when I say this. Chattanooga has a pretty good ball club going there. Again, I honestly don't know much about them. Ethan's more credible to talk about them. He's written an article on them.
Silvio De Souza, you're going to be playing a big man who gets into foul trouble quite often against Kofi Coburn, a big man who gets limited fouls called against him. So this will be interesting. I think the refs are going to play a very key matchup in this game. And I'll have Illinois coming out purely because of bias.
Right.
But
right now
Illinois has more talent, but Malachi Smith, the entire Chattanooga roster is so good.
It's electric.
I'd probably lean Illinois to win the game right now, but again, March Madness with these storylines, that Chattanooga buzzer beater by Jean Baptiste, it just sometimes it feels like those things just fuel a team to keep the dance going. Like the Georgia State, the game before RJ Hunter hit the 3 against Baylor, they had a buzzer beater, and that whole Ron Hunter story. There's just things like that happen in March Madness, and Chattanooga fits that. Whether or not they can actually stop Kofi Coburn and all those guys on Illinois that make them one of the most dangerous Big Ten teams is a whole other question. But the storyline's there to do it. I'm just probably going to pick Illinois.
And I think real quickly before we move on to our next game, Ethan and I were talking about this, not even on the show. We were talking about this college basketball enthusiast. And I was asking him if Illinois has what it takes to win down the stretch on a consistent basis, because they absolutely fumbled against Indiana. I mean, they looked like a bunch of 8th graders trying to play against an NBA press. It was a disaster at the end. And I was asking him how consistent that was, and I think, Ethan, you can speak for you when I say this, that it's a 50-50 with the Illini in terms of can they actually get done on the stretch.
And they're
if this game, if this game looks closer than I think it will be, I actually might choose Chattanooga, not just to piss off Ethan, but actually out of a true basketball opinion. So we'll see. But if Chattanooga, based on the stats, can get me convinced enough this game will be close, I just might go with them. So we'll see.
It'll be a good one for sure.
Then we move into Colorado, Michigan. I'm taking Colorado for the David Roddy reason, and because I don't want Michigan in this tournament reason.
That combo of David Roddy and Isaiah
Stevens. I'm letting you guys take on the analyst role. I knew having you here, I didn't have to do much work. I just get to host. So I just got fun with this.
There you go.
Yeah, I was just going to say quickly, the combo of David Roddy and Isaiah Stevens versus a routinely struggling Michigan team is going to be hard to beat. But yeah, I don't really know what else to say. This game is a little bit confusing for me, though, because Hunter Dickinson, despite how much crap everyone gives him every day of the year, he's still a good player. And this team still has guys like Musa Diabate who occasionally show up and have really good games. And I feel like Michigan they've always had enough talent to exploit every matchup, but particularly in this case, they have guys who can really work over these matchups outside of David Rodney and Isaiah Stevens. So I'm not saying I'm gonna pick Colorado State outright, but they look more convincing right now.
Yeah, I have to go with Colorado State. Michigan to me feels like Memphis in terms of, like you said, they can match up with anybody, but they're not playing as good down the stretch as Memphis. So I'd have more confidence in Memphis if they weren't playing Gonzaga in the second round. I have to put at least one Mountain West team in my Sweet 16. I think I've tweeted that out like 15 times in the last 2 months. So I'm going to have one that's 4 Mountain West teams in the Final Four. I've loved watching this league. I stay up till 2 a.m. and just love it to death. It's fantastic.
Are you on the East Coast? Just sorry.
Central time zone.
Okay.
So not all of them are 2 a.m. Some of them are 1, but it's just good basketball. I love this league this year, and I'm going to pick Colorado State to win this one, but having a matchup with Tennessee in the next round is just going to be tough. So I don't know if they're going to be my Sweet 16 pick in the Mountain West or not, but I'll have them beating Michigan.
Yeah, Tennessee Longwood. I think all three of us are saying Tennessee with ease. They have 3 guards who are extremely athletic and can all play the point if needed. They can handle anything Longwood throws at them defensively.
I feel like Longwood kind of got screwed here. I feel like this team really turned on at the end of the season. They had an absolutely great run going into the conference tournament. Then they won it convincingly, I might add. If Longwood's playing against some other 3 seeds, I could see more of an upset potential here, but Tennessee's not losing in the first round, despite how bad of a tournament coach Rick Barnes is, which I'll get into that later if we cover the rest of this. But I've got Tennessee here pretty convincingly.
Yeah, if Longwood was maybe matched up against Purdue or Wisconsin, probably still pick those 2 Big Ten teams, but I'd take a longer look at it. But Tennessee, I can't see it. I can't see them losing.
Then we move into Ohio State and Loyola Chicago.
Ooh, Sister Jean.
Youngest head coach in Drew Valentine along with Sister Jean against E.J. Liddell, Miles Branham, and the Ohio State Buckeyes. And real quick, you guys think it's really funny that we just credit Loyola Chicago to a 99, however old Sister Jean. It's all because of her. The players didn't do anything. I don't else think that's hysterical besides me.
It is pretty funny.
I think that's the case for most people on Twitter who kind of just look at the tournament and then see Sister Jean and they go, haha, funny, Sister Jean wins everything for them. Yeah. But, I mean, really, obviously Sister Jean, she may play a part. I mean, I hope she does. But I think for the most part, this team is usually just super talented and they're always well coached and they always have a very stingy defense. I've actually seen them playing live before in the first 2 rounds of the NCAA tournament when they went to the Final Four. And I saw in person how tenacious this defense always is. And I know Drew Valentine isn't Porter Mosier, but he coaches the same way. And I think I have Loyola Chicago here. And I haven't looked at any stats to back this up, but Ohio State has a tendency to lose big in the first round last year, and Loyola Chicago has a tendency to win big in the tournament when they're not supposed to, basically every other year. So I've got Loyola Chicago here based off some bias, but, pretty recent events also led me to that. But T3, what's up with you?
Do we know what the spread is on this game? This has to be like 1 or 2, right? Ohio State like -2 or something, right?
Being in Illinois, I cannot check.
There you go. I'll have to look at that later. I wouldn't even be surprised if it was Loyola -1 by the start of the game. I just feel like a lot of people are going to pick them, so I wouldn't be surprised if they're the favorites. I'll pick Loyola. Ohio State's more talented, and I think they're good enough to win the game, but they're not playing well right now. So I could have even seen them fall into an 8 seed. I had them at a 7 at the last moment, but it wouldn't have surprised me to fall all the way to an 8 when they were a 4 or 5 a couple weeks ago.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
they've kind of fallen off a little bit. Where Loyola, it looked like they were basically Missouri Valley or bust, and they answered the bell. Looked much better in that tournament, so I'll pick them to win this one.
Convincingly beat a good Drake team.
Yep.
So that's pretty fun to watch. Last but not least, to round out the South, Villanova. Welcome to round 32. That's all we need to say about that one.
And T3, before we get into the Midwest, I know you said you only have 30 minutes, so if you're able to stay on, that's great.
Yeah, let's get through the Midwest. Let's do it. I'll stay on.
All right, great.
Yeah.
All right, Kansas, Texas Southern, TCC at Kansas. We're moving right on to that.
Hey, shout out Corpus Christi. It's where my dad's from. Go Islanders.
All right, now I'm really hoping Texas Southern wins. All right. San Diego State and Creighton. San Diego State is my favorite Mountain West team to get far. Okay,
interesting. Because
great defense. Great defense.
Terrific.
I like that too.
And then they have average offense too. So if you put average offense with great defense,
makes life pretty easy for W's. Creighton's been hot, to say the least. I mean, they were in the freaking Big East championship. And they definitely have a lot of guys who are very capable of playing. Obviously, the Ryan Kolkburn and Ryan Hawkins, both very good players. But when you're looking at a San Diego State defense who in their own right is top 3 easily, but then you consider some other stats and they're easily top 10. I think I got to go San Diego State here, and they might beat Kansas in the next round unless the Islanders of Texas A&M Corpus Christi get the job done. But I'm liking San Diego State definitely in the round of 32, despite how good Creighton is. And then maybe even go to Sweet 16, as Ethan was alluding to earlier. So I'm really a big advocate for the San Diego State team. But T3, what's up?
Yeah, same here. That's my most likely, just basis the matchups, not necessarily the team, because I like Boise State and Colorado State too. They just have tough matchups. San Diego State's my most likely Sweet 16 Mountain West team. And then Wyoming has a decent draw too, but that second round against UCLA will be tough. But for me, Creighton having the injuries, their point guard's out. And when you play against a really good defense and you don't have your point guard, that's going to be tough. They haven't seen San Diego's defense other than a couple days of film they're going to get this week. So Creighton is credit to them for weathering that storm, looking like a bubble team for a minute and then playing great down the stretch. But I think San Diego State's defense gets the win here. And again, like you said, could even be Kansas this week.
Sure.
And next we move into my Final Four pick from the Midwest in Iowa versus Richmond.
I'm not saying honestly. I'm not saying that's out of the question. But can you elaborate why Iowa's your Final Four pick as the
as long as they do not completely botch what they've had for their past 3 weeks, and they can actually keep their momentum, hit their shots, and play good defense. I take the Murray brothers and the oldest player in college basketball, not named Brad Davidson, to get to the Final Four.
That's honestly not the end of the world take. I would disagree with that. I think we're going to cover my Final Four matchup out of this region next, but that's honestly not a bad take.
This region for me is a cluster. I wouldn't even be surprised if it's not going to be, but if someone like Miami got back into it, they've played a gazillion close games, and Isaac Waning is awesome. I mean, they could also lose to USC, but I don't know if anything in the Midwest is going to surprise me unless it's Corpus Christi in the Final Four. Otherwise, and maybe Jacksonville State. Other than that, it's Kansas going to have a tough second round matchup. Auburn's going to have a tough second round matchup. Iowa could win it. They could also lose to Richmond. So I'd pick Iowa here, but this one's the hardest Final Four pick for me of the 4 regions. All
right, so Iowa, Richmond. We're all going Iowa, it seems.
I think we have to go Iowa. I mean, Richmond they did get in there by winning their auto bid. They were the 7th seed in the A10, and they lost a lot of games for a reason. I mean, they have one of the best point guards in the country, though, to be fair. Not saying that he's going to win that for them solely, but Gary Richmond's really good. So, yeah.
Yep. And then you got Providence, South Dakota State. I cannot choose South Dakota State to win this game for the pure reason of they've been hyped up way too much over the past week and a half of Twitter. And anytime you see a mid-major get that much hype, Colgate last year, they end up falling short. The only time I remember mid-major getting so much hype and actually winning would be Liberty over Mississippi State. I think that was 6 years ago now, 5?
Yeah,
7,
something
7?
ridiculous. 4 or 5.
So that's the last time I remember a mid-major getting as much hype and actually
Get a job.
living up
I
to
think
it.
Middle Tennessee too, right? When they were
Oh, yeah.
favored over Minnesota as a 12-5, and they won, I think,
Yeah.
Oh
right?
yeah, that's true.
All right, so
That was
so
just
the
because
past-
Minnesota.
Minimal opportunities for mid-majors to get hyped up and win, but there is instances.
Yeah.
There is instances.
Yeah.
So we're not ruling this out completely, but
Right, but I'll go Providence just for that pure fact, and I hate Big East teams this year, so that means a lot.
Here's my thing. This might go against Ethan, and not might. It will go against Ethan's opinions completely. I think that out of every team in this conference, or not out of every team in any region, really, I didn't mean to say conference, but out of any team in any region, I think a team that's below a 3 seed, my best bet to go to the Final Four is this Providence team. I think that they have the star power, honestly. I think they have a very, very good defense, not to mention they have, in my opinion, the best perimeter defense in the country. They have a tendency to always lock up the guards whoever they're playing. And we've seen their biggest losses this year come from teams that have their best players being forwards like Marquette. And I think this team always gets it done down the stretch. I don't think they've lost a game where the score has come within 5 points. I remember seeing that on Twitter a few weeks ago, and I was blown away. I didn't even fact check it because it seems like something believable. But this is a squad this year, and I really think that they can not only beat South Dakota State, but I think they're going to beat the winner of Iowa and Richmond and move on to whatever happens in the top half of the top part of the Midwest. And I think they'll go to the Final Four based on what I've seen. But I really, really like this Providence team. So that's my opinion.
If the games are close like they normally are in March Madness, Providence is not going to be frightened by that. They're going to see that close game, and
Whoa,
that's my fire alarm.
wow, that's really unfortunate. Do you want to continue this because you said you're kind of on a time restriction?
Yeah, might have to jump with this and go check that out. But
it was really nice having you on.
Yeah, it was absolutely great being on here, guys. Really.
Thank you for coming on. We'll stay in contact for sure. Hopefully, can get you on another show throughout March Madness.
Absolutely.
And
I'd love to.
John, let's finish up this Midwest. Thank you so much
Sounds
for coming
good.
on T3.
See you guys.
All right.
He knows what he's talking about. I actually appreciate it a lot. We don't have
Yeah.
too many guys on here who have this level of knowledge, and I really appreciated that. So T3, if you're still watching this, thank you. But yeah. So what was our next matchup? LSU versus Iowa State. Is that something right?
Yep.
All right.
LSU Iowa State 6-11. John, you're our main analyst now. T3 is gone. I'm still hosting this. I'm not doing I'm not going to be analyzing too much because I'll let you handle that for this LSU Iowa State game. We got Tari Eason versus Isaiah Brockington. Who wins that matchup?
This is a game where we have two teams who were doing incredibly well, not just for what they were projected to do at the beginning of the season, but they were just doing insane. I think LSU started their season 11-0. Iowa State is proving haters left and right. They actually have a team this year. They are projected by almost everyone with a brain cell to finish dead last in the Big 12 this year, and now they're in the tournament. But same thing with LSU. They went through a lot of injuries in the beginning of the season, still managed to win a lot despite a pretty bad out-of-conference schedule. And they went through a little period in the middle of the year where they had injuries, but they're losing a lot of games. And I feel like that this LSU team, when they're fully healthy, I saw them play a horrible game yesterday, actually, against Arkansas. Not yesterday, a few days ago. But for the most part, when they can keep their composure and when they're not sped up by other SEC teams, they usually have a tendency to do really well. I think that LSU wins not easily because Iowa State does have Isaiah Brockington. He's a very high-level player and is actually very efficient despite how much he shoots. I think that LSU will win, maybe not convincingly, but they're going to win, in my opinion. And then they move on to the winner of Wisconsin-Colgate, which I love this Wisconsin team. We're not going to get into them too much because that's obviously for the next game. But I love this Wisconsin team, but I think that LSU can win. I'm not saying they are.
Did I just hear you say that you love this Wisconsin team?
Not love, but they have certain aspects of their team. They have, in my opinion, a great backcourt and a good enough front court, depending on the game. So I'm a very big advocate for this LSU team, though. And I think that they had a lot of injuries. That's why they have 11 losses and why they're on the 6th line. But now they're fully healthy. Obviously outside of Adam Miller. We hope he gets better for next season. But I think they have a really good team. And they're going to beat Iowa State and maybe beat Wisconsin. But we'll see. Ethan, do you have anything else to say about LSU?
Will Wade got fired. So maybe not this upcoming episode because we're recording an episode right after this. But sometime in this offseason, me and you are going to have a fun little discussion about LSU and why the NCAA sucks. more and more than it already does.
We'll get to that in the offseason, though. We're in the most important part of the season right now.
Yep, and moving into that, I got Wisconsin, sadly, but USC and Miami, not Wisconsin. That might be eventually in the Sweet 16, you never know. But USC and Miami can't match USC's big men.
No, and I think not only their big men, I think that, again, Drew Peterson, who I've talked about quite at length on the show, he's a phenomenal player. He's been really turning on the big games this year. I understand that they didn't win their conference. They lost, I believe, in their Final Four. But he's a high-level player. Not to mention you got guys like Isaiah Mobley, Boogie Ellis, who can turn it on at any second. So he's a guy to watch out for. I think that Isaiah Wong from Miami is good, and I think Jim Larinaga is not a great coach, but he's definitely a very good coach. But based on his tournament history and based on how his team doesn't necessarily have enough star power to me to really convince me of the 7-10 upset, I think I'm going to go with USC here.
All right, same here. And then you move into Auburn, Jacksonville State. We know
Auburn's going to win, but Jacksonville State shouldn't even be in the tournament in the first place. Hashtag screw the NCAA. Bellarmine should – actually, if Bellarmine was in the tournament, they probably would have a better matchup than against Arkansas. They'd probably be maybe St. Peter's position, but I think that Bellarmine should be in the tournament. I don't really know, and I don't really know why they have that rule. So apparently, by the way, for anyone wondering, the rule according to Ethan is in place so that teams can't go from D2 to D1, take a bunch of D1 recruits, and go back down to D2 and win all the time, which in theory is a good rule, and I think that rules should probably be in place for maybe the first year or two, but to have a 4-year transition period is excessive, to say the very least. So Bellarmine got robbed. Jacksonville State, I'm not saying they're a bad team either. They're a very high-level three-point shooting team, and they made it to the conference championship for a reason. So I think that Jacksonville State is not going to win this game, and I think they shouldn't even be in there in the first place. So that's my opinion. The question is are we going over the rest of the bracket, or are we done here? Because I can do both.
We are done here, I believe.
Okay, that's cool.
Because in reality, we just had a lot of fun with this.
I had so much fun.
All right, and before we go, quick shout out to T3. I'm going to say his @ right now. That is TB Bracketology. TB is capitalized. This man went 67 to 68 on picks within a seat of each other.
That's ridiculous.
We're unofficially next time I talk with him, we're unofficially partnered with him. From now on, starting next year, if we still are doing these streams, every single bracketology that we go over will be his.
Interesting.
Because
I'm actually down for that.
If Lenardi can't do this, let's be honest. And if
Lenardi's had his moments though. He has a job for a reason as the head bracketologist.
His job is he's entertaining. That's why we and you do this. We're somewhat entertaining. But on that note, John, thank you for joining us. Check out @ATR Madness. We are 4 followers away from 300. If we can hit that before Thursday, I don't know how we managed to get here, but thank God. Thank you all.
Shout out to Twitter. Shout out to Instagram. New posts going up as soon as this episode releases. And we'll actually be posting a lot more due to the fact that March Madness is coming up. So we're actually going to be more active on that. Please make sure to give that a follow @_Creating Madness. Twitter, again, is @ATR Madness. YouTube is Creating Madness. This stream will be uploaded there. And other streams we'll be doing through the coming days will be uploaded there. So watch that. As for me, I'm signing off. Ethan, you got any last notes?
Nope. Thank you to everyone who joined. Thank you for everyone who listens in on this later, after the fact. So much fun.
So much fun.
Thank you. Thank you, T3. Thank you, John. And we're going to go record that episode once we end this. So good night, y'all.
We're out.
And we are 2 days away.